You do this and it gives you different flavored chocolates. This is dangerous. Look, there are children here. I think this should be forbidden. It's just outrageous.
Hello, dear travelers. While we're in Switzerland, we've decided to deviate a little from the planned route and visit 2 more countries. In this episode, we'll show you luxurious Zurich, unique Liechtenstein, and one of the most beautiful cities in Austria, Innsbruck.
I'm walking down Bahnhofstrasse, one of the most famous streets in Zurich. Even though we were short on time, we really wanted to visit this city because there's so much to see. It's the economic engine of all of Switzerland, and it's also the largest city in the country, with about 450,000 inhabitants. Also, the headquarters of all banks are located here. It's safe to say that Zurich is really the economic heart of Switzerland.
Zurich is a vibrant place. On the one hand, it's an international technological and financial center. On the other hand, there are a lot of natural sights and great architecture. Switzerland's largest cities attract many expats with its quality of life. Last year, the average wage, already one of the highest in the world, rose by 5%. So Zurich residents now earn on average more than 90,000 euros a year per person.
It's a very international city, which of course isn't surprising considering how rich it is. It reminds me a little bit of Edinburgh. Of course, it doesn't have such a big suburban area, but it also has about 500,000 people, and a lot of them are foreigners. Here, about 20% of the inhabitants are from Germany. Also, there are a lot of people from the former Yugoslavia, from Italy as well, and I think about 1% of the population are from Spain. One of the reasons why Zurich is so rich is its special tax system, which attracts many companies, and that is why many major European corporations are based here. Of course, good education, punctuality, and business mentality also plays a huge role in this. Bahnhofstrasse is the golden mile of the city. All the famous brands can be found here: Prada, Gucci, Chanel. So if you want to go luxury shopping, this is the place. It's rather interesting that in many cities in this part of the world, the main street is Bahnhofstrasse, which means the street that leads to the city train station or passes by it. Look at all this chocolate. Switzerland is not only one of the countries with the best chocolate in the world, but it's also the country with the highest chocolate consumption. 11 kilograms per person per year. A little later, we'll see how chocolate is made in a very special place.
One of the most popular pastimes in Zurich is visiting its ancient churches. In addition to their historical value, following the sound of the bells is a good way to avoid getting lost in the old town.
This is the St. Peter's Church, one of the 4 most important churches in the city. And although it may seem relatively modern, it has been a place of worship for thousands of years because it was originally the site of the Roman fort from which Zurich began. Then around the year 1000, a Romanesque church was built, and a little later, a Gothic church, and as is often the case, one was built on top of another. Eventually, around the 18th century, the church we see before us took on its present form. Let's go inside and take a look.
Here's an interesting fact about St. Peter's Church. With an outer diameter of 8.64 meters and a minute hand measuring 5.73 meters in length, this tower clock is the largest in Europe and one of the biggest in the world.
I really wanted to visit a Christmas market, and this one in the historical center of Zurich is amazing. Not only is it beautiful, but is also located in an incomparable setting next to this abbey church called Fraumünster. I probably mispronounced its name, but a little later we will definitely visit it. The church was built as part of an abbey in the 9th century. Now the abbey building no longer exists. but the church itself is still one of the most important in Zurich.
The abbey where the church was located has a unique history. Louis the Germanic, Charlemagne's grandson, founded it in 853 to be run by his daughter Hildegard. He also gave her special powers, under which she was answerable only to the emperor and could conduct trades, collect duties, and mint money. This made her the supreme ruler of the city and one of the most powerful women of the Middle Ages.
One of the reasons why it's worth paying the 5 franc entrance fee, besides the fact that the church itself is simply beautiful, is these stained glass windows. And now we're entering the crypt. Oh, how modern everything is here. Well, here are the remains, together with an explanation. And here's a letter from 853 from King Ludwig. This seal looks a lot like our channel logo. I think we should do something similar.
The Limmat River crosses Zurich, dividing it into 2 almost equal parts. On its banks, you can see many promenades, fountains, and a very unusual building, the Old Town Hall, which is literally built over the river. This 17th century mansion houses the Zurich Cantonal Council, and as it turns out, the members of this institution have wanted to move elsewhere for years. I suppose because of the humidity, but they have not yet managed to agree on a new site.
What a spectacular view you get when crossing this bridge. These 2 towers are part of Grossmünster, a very famous church in Switzerland. This is where the Protestant Reformation began. Zurich was the first city in the whole region that accepted the Reform, so this church witnessed those years and all the religious movement. In general, Switzerland and Zurich have a rich religious history. For example, the Anabaptist movement was born here, and it is said that the church was founded by Charlemagne himself. In any case, there have been significant buildings here since Roman times. If you like the Abbey Church stained glass windows created by Marc Chagall, take a look at these modern ones. To tell you the truth, stained glass windows have always caught my attention, but these modern ones here are really fascinating. I'm even gonna take a picture of them all now and post them later on our Instagram so you can see the entire collection. They are undoubtedly very unusual.
After visiting the church, one can only wonder how such different regions were able to create such an incredible country. The formation of Switzerland dates back to 1291, when the cantons of Uri, Schwyz, and Unterwalden signed an agreement to form a defensive alliance, the League of Three Knights. Gradually, other regions joined the confederation. However, it had not always been a peaceful alliance. Curiously, despite tensions between the cantons over whether or not to join the Protestant thesis, Switzerland remained an oasis of relative peace during the religious European wars. Although the cantons did enter into the alliances with other countries to fight against outside forces, there was never any lasting conflict between the cantons themselves. The unromantic explanation is that such neutrality brought them a lot of money, so Switzerland seems to have taken to being neutral. While Zurich may be one of the most expensive cities in the world, there is one thing that is absolutely free, and it is of the highest quality: water. Switzerland is known for its water fountains. In Zurich alone, there are about 1,200 of them, some of them real works of art. It's therefore quite common to see locals and tourists filling their bottles with water from them. After seeing so many monuments in history, we had a craving for sugar. So we drove to Kilchberg, which is 15 minutes from Zurich, to visit a very special museum.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the chocolate fountain that pours 1.5 tons of Lindt and Sprungli chocolate every day. This is not an advertisement. We are in the Lindt Museum near Zurich, where we'll see how chocolate is made and eat a lot of it. All in all, my dream come true.
Lindt Home of Chocolate is a space that opened a couple years ago and has already received hundreds of thousands of visitors. It consists of an interactive museum, a chocolate bar, and a store. All in all, it has 1,500 square meters of ultra-modern design and lots of chocolate. This fountain is the museum's star attraction. It's 9 meters tall and in the shape of a whisk, with which Lindt's founder created his signature recipe. I think that in a few years, it'll be the most photographed object in Switzerland.
In the first few rooms of the museum, you'll get to learn not only about the history of the chocolate, but also how its production developed in Switzerland, including the history of Toblerone and the people involved in Lindt and Sprungli. It's really very interesting. You'll also see cows, maps of Switzerland, and idyllic images.
At the museum, we had the opportunity to learn a lot about the country's favorite sweet, from its Aztec origin to emergence of Swiss chocolatiers. The entire exhibit is quite educational. Presentations, dioramas, moulages, and the best part of all, unlimited tastings.
Let's try some white chocolate. So good. Now let's try the dark chocolate and see what it tastes like. It's delicious. Now let's try the milk chocolate. I'll stick with the dark one, as I always do. This machine is the most dangerous thing in the world. You do this and it gives you different flavored chocolates. This is dangerous. Look, there are children here. I think this should be forbidden. It's just outrageous. Well, we finished our visit and we've really enjoyed it. Though I'm leaving with an extra kilo of chocolate in me. The museum is really good. The building itself is very cool and everything is very high tech. As a museum, it's amazing. It's only 2 years old and you can tell. And gosh, what a lot of money was invested in it. If you ever find yourself in this country and you like chocolate, then make sure you visit the museum. It's a little expensive, but you'll eat a lot of chocolate.
After regaining our strength, we've continued our route to the east, to a country that very few people have visited in Europe.
We're between Austria and Switzerland, in a very small country of 160 square kilometers, and its prince lives in that castle over there. It's one of the richest countries in the world, and the second least visited country in Europe after San Marino. I think you probably already guessed where we're going today. Of course, Liechtenstein.
This country receives just under 100,000 visitors a year, which is more than double its population. Most tourists come here to ski or come from Switzerland and Austria to say they've been to the 6th smallest country in the world. What Liechtenstein does attract is a lot of foreign companies. The principality offers them a very low level of taxation. It is practically an offshore zone with one of the highest GDPs per capita in the world. Since foreign companies are obliged to have residents among their employees, natives of the principality are paid on average twice as much as the average salary in neighboring countries. So you can imagine how difficult it is to obtain a citizenship in this country. Outwardly, it looks like an extension of the surrounding Swiss and Austrian valleys, with many small villages amidst mountainous nature. The capital, Vaduz, has just 5,000 inhabitants. By the way, there are only 100 police officers, 300 unemployed people, and 7 prisoners. We only stopped in Vaduz for a few hours and had a very quick look around. The tourist area of the city is one pedestrian street. Here you will find the town hall and a couple of interesting museums, such as the Fine Arts and the National Museum. But if you look up from almost any point of the city, you will see the most famous site in the Principality.
We are near Vaduz Castle, where the prince lives, and unfortunately it's closed. Actually, it's always closed, except for August 15, when the doors are open to the public and a big banquet is held. I don't know if there are musicians and jesters, but it's Liechtenstein National Day, and everyone can visit the castle.
The history of Liechtenstein is quite interesting. In 1699, Prince John Adam Andrew of Liechtenstein bought the manor of Schellenberg and then the county of Vaduz, forming a new principality within the Holy Roman Empire. In doing so, he intended only to gain power at court, but when the empire fell in the 19th century, his descendants retained sovereignty over the territory. To this day, the country remains an independent territory with strong cultural and economic ties with Austria and Switzerland.
Curiously, the relationship between the prince and the parliament is sometimes difficult. Currently, the prince is Hans Adam II, and he is one of the most powerful monarchs in the world, at least of those who rule under parliamentary monarchy. He has a royal veto over laws, not just theoretical power, and he can also take certain emergency decisions without parliamentary involvement, which is not usually the case in parliamentary monarchies. This set of powers was expanded in 2003 to 2004. In 2012, there was a referendum in which a majority of the population voted for the prince to continue to have this right. It's also very funny that in order to maintain his power, the prince has sometimes threatened to move to Austria and leave Liechtenstein if he was not granted the desired powers.
After visiting this curious country, we drove 170 kilometers eastward into the Austrian Alps. There lies Innsbruck, a city blessed with incredible views, fresh air, and beautiful architecture.
One of the reasons we wanted to come to Innsbruck was that the local Christmas market is considered one of the best in the whole of Tyrol. I've started my day with mulled wine, which only cost me €1. I actually paid €4, but if I return the mug to them, they will refund me €3. I don't know if we'll keep it as a souvenir. I'm not one of those who collects mugs with names of the cities they've been to, but if it keeps smelling so nice, maybe I'll keep it.
Innsbruck is the 5th largest city in Austria. With a population of about 130,000, it's the perfect size for an afternoon stroll. It's also famous for its cheerful atmosphere, and the Tyroleans are known for their friendliness.
Medizin.
As soon as you enter the city, its architecture and elegance quickly remind you that you are in an imperial capital. Maximilian I, Habsburg Holy Roman Emperor, was one of the most prominent rulers in the history of Europe, and his imperial court in Innsbruck became a cultural center of great influence and one of the cradles of the modern state.
We are now walking along Herzog Friedrichstrasse, also a very nice street, and this golden roof is one of the most photographed and most famous sights in the city. It is very beautiful indeed. It dates back from 1493 and consists of about 2,700 ceramic and copper plates painted in gold. This building was built under Maximilian I to celebrate his wedding to Bianca Maria Sforza. As you can see, it is full of tourists. The Hofkirche, or court church, is one of Innsbruck's most famous landmarks. It is an early to mid-16th century Gothic church built to house the remains of Emperor Maximilian I by his grandson Ferdinand. Let's take a look.
The facade of the church is very beautiful, but the most important thing is hidden inside, where the cenotaph of Maximilian I is located. By the way, the cenotaph is a funerary monument that does not contain physical remains, but is rather a kind of symbolic tribute. This one is simply stunning. The sarcophagus is in the center of the church, and next to it is a sculpture of the emperor kneeling. There are 28 statues around it that guard it, representing 16th century European sovereigns such as Ferdinand the Catholic of Aragon and his daughter Joanna the Mad of Castile. Although our trip was coming to an end, we still found some time to see the cathedral, a wonderful Baroque moment with twin towers that are very imposing. If you come to Innsbruck, we recommend that you spend some time wandering around its colorful streets and enjoying the atmosphere. Although if you're traveling in winter or spring, just be sure to dress warmly. Well, we're leaving Innsbruck and continuing a route through the Alps. In the next video, we will show you another country, Italy. If you've liked this video, please give it a like, and if you don't want to miss the next one, subscribe to our channel and click on the bell. Thank you very much, and see you soon, world travelers!